Hi everyone, this is Rebecca here for Gogo Getaway. This is the October 23 retreat and this is session 4, which is called All the Words. So we're going to be using the beautiful Cocoa Vanilla Heart and Home collection for this one. And my idea for this class is to really make a focal point of those little word and sentiment stickers that Cocoa Vanilla always have on their sticker sheets. I often add them as an afterthought and I've never used them as a focal point. So that is the aim of this class, to really make a feature of those little words and sentiment strips that we get in the Cocoa Vanilla collections. So on screen you'll see that I have already trimmed my framed paper to 11 by 11 square. That is the wood grain paper, and now I'm going to be gutting this paper. This is called Bountiful. I want to use the peach side of this paper as a frame around my wood grain paper, so I'm just gutting it. I've left approximately a 1.5 inch border there, and obviously I keep that middle part as well to fussy cut some of the florals that I use in the layout as well. Now I thought I'd just point out that I'm going to use my wood grain with the grain going top to bottom instead of left to right. That it is designed to be used left to right, but I wanted it top to bottom so it kind of echoes the pattern of the vertical feature that we've got going on the layout. So I do turn it to the side. You might not have noticed that unless I'd pointed it out, but yeah, I wanted my wood grain to be top to bottom instead of left to right. Next, I've got my trusty scalpel craft knife and I'm going to fussy cut some of these florals, but I will point out that I kind of leave a sort of diagonal part of it intact that I use in my extra inspiration. So I'll point that out now, just so you don't sort of hack into it any which way. So that's the kind of shape I've left to use in my extra inspiration if you wanted to do that, and that's roughly the amount of flowers that I've cut. So I'm also now going to go ahead and distress the edges of this wood grain paper. Kind of want a sort of a hint of white edging, so you can see there just a hint of the white, just where I've distressed it. Now before I can adhere that wood grain down onto my peach coloured frame, I need to adhere my threads in place. Now I'll start off with 2 different colours, but I actually just preferred the look of just the pink. So you'll see me fiddling around on screen and deciding I'm just going to go for 3 strands of pink thread. Yeah, I've just picked 3 and I'm going to sort of tuck them in at the top, tie them in a double knot and then tuck them in at the bottom. But obviously this has to be stuck down before I can attach it to the frame, so that it's sort of tucked in those layers. Now I actually found this kind of tricky, just because I had to re-stick and move these threads a few times to get them evenly spaced where I wanted them to be and to get a good amount of tension. So I stuck them, just sort of adhered them down temporarily at the back using some washi tape, which was actually a really good technique to use, and then that meant that I could move them and get the look that I wanted. You can see that I've stuck them down too close together, so I'm going to move them further apart. This is probably, yeah, it was kind of tricky, just to be happy with the spacing. I keep my knot that I tie in my threads quite sort of fairly high up towards the top of the page as well, so that's something else to bear in mind as well. I think I'm finally happy when those threads are about 1 centimetre apart up at the top. What's that in inches? I don't think in inches. 1 centimetre is just over 1/4 of an inch. So yeah, just over 1/4 of an inch at the top, spacing wise. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that double knot in those threads, and this thread strand feature, it really just helps to highlight that whole area, that whole length of the page, where I want to put those lovely word sentiment stickers. So it kind of acts as a way for the words to sort of weave in and out and around and under and over those thread strands. And also it made a really interesting feature where I stuck the title stickers underneath those threads. It's not something I've done before, so I thought that looked really cool and just something different. And I'm going to tape those down at the bottom, and now you could obviously notice that there's a slightly bigger gap between the threads at the bottom. It's around about 1¼ to sort of 1½ inches between those threads at the bottom, or 3 or 4 centimeters if you think in centimeters like I do. Okay, so that was fiddly and it took me a while to be happy with how it looked, but obviously that needs to be on before I can carry on with the layout. I'm planning roughly where I want my photographs to go and where I want that lovely word feature to go, and now what I'm going to do is use the stencil, sort of tuck the stencil underneath those threads, and using a white journaling pen I'm going to draw through the gaps, not all of the gaps but just some of the gaps, in that sort of blocky oblong brick shaped pattern on that stencil, and these kind of echo the shape of the word stickers, so I kind of wanted them in and around where I was going to be putting the word stickers, and sort of scattered around across the page in random pattern, no particular order. I do add some now and then some later once I've added the stickers, because I hadn't quite decided where everything was going to go at this point. So yeah, you can always add some more later because it's not wet mixed media, it's literally just a journaling pen, so it's really quite easy to add some more later if you need to. So I'm going to adhere the wood grain paper down onto the peach coloured frame that I've got. I've used some red line tape there just to kind of hold those threads really sort of tightly in place, and obviously they're only adhered at the back with washi, so the red line tape will keep everything really sort of firmly in place. You can see there on screen I'm just sort of folding the edges of the wood grain paper up. I like to do this when I've used a frame. I think it gives a lovely bit of lift and texture, and it also helps me to see that white edging a little bit more clearly, so that's quite a nice technique to use. You can also bend the edges around a ruler, just to get a straight edge if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more of those stencil shapes. I really apologise about the lighting in this video. My window was open and my blinds were open because it was boiling, and I just was in the zone. I didn't quite notice how dreadful the lighting can be. It's really variable with the sun shining in. And it's time to stick those photos down. So the larger photo I'm just sticking just straight down onto the background paper, and the smaller photo I am sticking using some foam pads. So I like sort of the shape that's generated by sticking these photos like this. It kind of gives you that little right angle area just to the right of the larger photo, like a little nook to tuck all those word stickers and our title in place. So it's quite a good sort of layout shape using these two different sizes of photo. So you'll see there on screen I've ever so slightly tucked my smaller photo underneath the thread strand feature, and I'm going to go ahead and start adhering my title down. Now I started off with the title over the top, like stuck over the top of those threads, but I actually really liked how it looked when the threads were going over the top of the title, so I do end up pulling the thread out and having it go over the top of that title. And I've gone with the title Joyful Days. That is one of the sentiments that is on the sticker sheet in this collection that we've used. And that is something that I sometimes do. I sometimes take a little sentiment or a sort of phrase from the collection itself just to kind of get a title or, you know, some words that really suit the collection. And I felt like that really suited. And next I'm going to use my white journaling pen and my ruler to add some faux stitching around the edge of my wood grain paper. So the next bit I found really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. I've made this feature using these lovely word stickers, and I've kind of scattered them all along and down. Some of the word stickers I'm going to, you'll hopefully see on screen in a sec. I'm going to just hold them in my tweezers. I'm going to scrape them slightly on the Distress Oxide and try and get like just a little border of the colour. It's very visible close up and in person, and it does add that little pop of extra colour on those stickers. It's not very clear on the screen, but I kind of scrape it and sort of print it. There you go, you can just about see it's just visible around the edge of the sentiment and word stickers, and I'm going to start sticking those in place. So some are stuck straight onto that wood grain paper, Some of them I've added some foam pads behind them to give them a bit of dimension. Some of these word stickers are placed underneath the threads on the screen, and some are stuck over the top of the thread. So just to get a bit of variation, different colours, different heights, obviously like a bit of different texture going on with the thread and things like that. So yeah, just a little feature all down that right hand side. So I'm continuing to build that lovely feature down the right hand side, and I'm going to add that quite large floral cluster that we fussy cut at this point, so that I can then add some of the words and sentiment stickers over the top of it. This second floral cluster that I'm about to stick down to the left hand side of the smaller photo, that is stuck using foam pads to get that bit of dimension. The cluster to the right side of the photo is just stuck straight onto the background. And I'm going to stick another cluster down at the bottom edge of the page using foam pads, and then glue another fussy cut flower just behind it, just to get a little bit of variation in depth down at that bottom area. It takes me a little while to be happy with where the word stickers are. I kind of wanted, as I said, them to be sort of scattered and sort of taper off towards the bottom of the page, and I just wanted to enjoy how they looked. So I'm glad that I didn't do too much of that stenciling earlier on, because I can sort of add some more now, and I'm just adding in where I think there needs another little gap or another little stenciled area. Next, I'm adding in these lovely gold gems. I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on the page and then stick those down. I've kind of kept those to this word and thread cluster, just scattered them down along there. And I've also then stuck some of the smaller fussy cut florals in place. Off screen, I do actually add some white splatter onto that central thread and word cluster. But I didn't do that on screen, unfortunately. Oh yeah, now I'm adding some more faux stitching. I thought I'd done that earlier. Obviously I did it now. That's pretty much it, everybody. So they can go. You can see those white splatters that I've added off screen, and you can see those word stickers and all those lovely fussy cut florals. I hope you enjoy the class.